Okay. Good evening. Thank you for being patient. Actually, my phone says 7 o'clock. Go ahead and call this meeting to order of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. We're going to start with the public hearing. If I could have Secretary Mr. Puglisi read the legal notice, please.
The legal notice, Town of Rocky Hill Zoning Board of Appeals. The Rocky Hill Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, beginning at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, second floor of Rocky Hill Town Hall, 761 Old Main Street, Rocky Hill, Connecticut. To consider the following: A, Appeal 2022-04, Charles and Claire Clark requesting variances from requirements of the Rocky Hill zoning regulations, section 9.G.3.2.B, and A2 survey, an A2 survey requirement, and section B2 structure applicable to fences, to allow for a 10-foot high fence where 6 foot is required on property located at 214 Old Main Street in the R20 residential district. This is dated this 15th and 17th day of June, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Would like to start off that saying any decision of this board can be taken to the Superior Court within 15 days. You can go ahead and state your name and address. And
My name is Charles Clark, 214 Old Main Street in Rocky Hill. We have resided at that address since 1976 and have had this open meadow as our backyard for that time. In the last few years, the problem with deer has been increasingly bad. I'm not sure if it's from lack of habitat or just a population explosion, but our neighbors have seen as many as 20 deer in our field at one time. Usually it's with the spring freshet, but numerous times we've included some pictures in our presentation of some of those individuals. And so as we considered the prospects of trying to exclude the deer, we were presented with my own knowledge of deer. On my business in South Windsor, we have an 8-foot fence, and I have witnessed deer jumping that fence, clearing that. It does happen to have a terrain like our field does, but they were able to clear it. And our contours favor being able to jump from the high side of the contour to the low. And so we've made a request to have the variance for the 10-foot. Our intention is to place the fence 3 feet within our property so that we can keep bittersweet and other vines from, taking the fence over time. And yet we won't have to be on our neighbor's property to do so. We have, as far as our request to eliminate the expense of an A2 survey, we have taken from the town records not only our own dimensions, but the iron pipe and granite markers of the surrounding properties, including the development property to our east, which is a very recent survey. So we're very certain of our property boundaries.
okay.
Any questions?
Okay. Any questions? You want to start with any?
The field that you guys own,
Mm-hmm.
you said it's used for hay and you plant other things on it?
Two crops of hay, typically each year. We also have an asparagus bed in our own personal vegetable garden, which is also enclosed. Not the asparagus is not, and we've had problems there too.
So the hay
Is
an
the
income
crop?
for you?
Is the crop?
Is it an income for you?
It is an income for the farmer that cuts it and bales it, and we have a barter relationship. I don't receive remuneration for it. He's working with Antique Tractors, and he deserves every dollar he gets from that work.
Okay, I'm good.
Dave, refresh my memory on the A2 survey requirement. Or are we able to secede it because of the current survey?
Pardon me?
Or are we able to,
Yeah, you're able to waive it. It's been requested in the past for some structures like sheds and such, and the commission had concerns about actual dimensions from permanent structures, like a building, to the property line, so that we were clear on what the variance would be required for a variance. As the applicant stated here, they have surveys that were filed on the land records for all around them as well as their property. And I believe a good portion of that is the subdivision, the Old Main subdivision, which, as he mentioned, was recent, so I'm probably flagging still out there from the surveyors.
There's still stakes.
yeah,
And some lines cut, so, for the nature, and as he mentioned, they're staying 3 feet onto their property so as to maintain the outside of the fence.
sure.
So if there's any error, I wouldn't
Not gonna be
conceive that
3
there's a
feet.
3-foot error,
Right.
around
Right,
them.
okay.
Should accommodate our
Right, okay, perfect then. What I would like to do is put on the record that we are waiving the requirement for an A2 survey in this instance.
Well, it would be a variance because it is a requirement. So they're asking for 2 variances. The first is the requirement for the A2 survey.
Okay,
We would need a motion for that, right?
well, let's go ahead and finish with the questions, and then we'll go ahead and do that. Okay. Mr. Pugliese?
Please pass me and come
Okay.
back to me.
Okay. Commissioner Roderick? Okay.
I have a
Commissioner Beatty?
Just a couple questions. That's one for Dave. I always look to try to find what page that rule is on, and you can look while I ask some more questions. This is just a general question. I noticed from the document that you gave us, it looks like there's some dirt paths that maybe go through. At one time, maybe they were old dirt paths, or
Saw that, and
Yeah.
they don't exist
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, okay. And any feedback from any of your neighbors about the fence?
We visited all of the neighbors that are currently living there, not the developer, of course.
Yeah.
And just explained and showed some of the same pictures that you have, and didn't get any
Right.
problem,
Right.
any registered problems.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's a sign that goes up that says there's a zoning board of appeals, and
It's
people
still
have
up.
all that. And
Yep.
so anyone that wanted to really, they could be there.
And the certified mail, too.
Yeah, and now I'm just curious, what does your property back up against? The meadows?
No, it backs up against the Zarifis property, which was sold for development. What's the name of it?
Well, it was I think the current name's Old Main Street subdivision.
And it's I think there was a delay because of an Department of Environmental,
Okay.
they weren't clear on the easement for the sewer, and that was a several-year delay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
it's the development that splits the 2 historical houses on Old Main.
Got it, okay.
The A2 survey requirement is on page 167.
Thank you, sir.
And the fence?
The fence is actually within the definitions
Okay, okay.
in the front of the regulations under structure. That's on page 11.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Commissioner Roderick?
I'm good, I have no questions.
Mr. Clark, I'm looking at the topographical map that you gave me, and it doesn't look like the grade of the property really affects the height of the fence on most of the property. Is that true?
It's true that most of it is, you know, there are, on the southeast boundary of this are the steepest contours.
I can see that. On top of that knoll in the southeast property,
Yeah.
what is up there now?
It's wooded.
And the reason
That
I
whole
ask,
corner.
when I drove by, of course, I didn't walk on the property, but I drove by, it looked like, I almost thought it was a tennis court, but then the fence was too low.
That's our garden.
Okay,
That's our you know, it's almost like a prison. It looks like it if you take a quick look.
Yeah.
It's got critter guard at about this height to keep the chipmunks out and the squirrels, and then it goes up another 8 feet. So
and
it's,
that portion, of course, you know, Main Street is gonna be open, there'll be no fence there. But that knoll, how far back does the knoll go? I can't tell from this map.
in terms of the actual crest of the hill, the knob is probably, I would say, 70 feet
So,
up.
and I have to rely on this map, so do you mean that from Old Main Street back to this point is 70 feet
No,
approximately?
no, it's only about a third of the way, I would guess. The highest point that you could see, where you can look in all directions and see that it's down, I would say is about 70 feet from the macadam of Old Main Street.
Let me explain my concern.
Yeah.
Okay, because the only reason why we can grant an approval on this is if there's a hardship. And I'm trying to determine how much of this fence that you're asking for qualifies as a hardship. Now, I certainly can understand on this part of the property, because the grade is so severe, I can understand why you would need it there. And I certainly, you know, as I said, I know that it's not necessary back here or here. But how far back can we approve? You see what I'm thinking of?
I mean, then I guess it begs the question, if we're talking about, you know, a fence, we're going to vary the height of the fence depending on the amount of hardship that we have, or can we have a consistent fence around the whole property?
From my position, it really has to be because of the hardship.
The whole, every foot of the fence?
Dave, can I reflect to you?
If I may add,
Yes.
the applicants did come in and speak with myself prior to applying, and in talking over about the hardships, the part of the discussion was, you know, the reason for the fence and that.
Right.
And the impression I got was the damage to the crops from the deer bedding down, you know, often, that was part of the hardship along with
Access to the whole field,
topography.
right? Rather
So
than just a portion.
that's how I understood it when.
Right. I don't have a problem with that perspective. Where I'm stumbling is if the deer can't get into it under normal circumstances. I know 6-foot fence is not going to keep deer out. But even the documents and the research that you provided said 8 foot was enough. Could we go 8 feet for the vast majority of it and just in this critical area in the southwest corner, go 10 foot?
That's a possibility. We have, in my exploration of finding a vendor for putting up these fences, I contacted Rose's berry farm in Glastonbury and contacted their farm manager and got the name of some vendors. And he said to me, you know, your timing could be very good here because Rose's lease is a plot on Hebron Avenue, and it's owned by the Catholic Church. And we've been leasing it for the last 10 years. And it has a 10-foot fence around it. And if our lease is up next month, I'll probably know whether it is, and we're probably going to be interested in selling that reasonably. So it happens to be 10 foot. That's the reason we put in the 10 foot, even though we probably only need it on that south corner or south leg.
Right? I understand. I think it's certainly understandable why you would put it in. And I hope you understand why I'm looking to restrict the height to just what is necessary. The documents you provided said 8 feet was the normal height. Excuse me.
Tip, yeah.
Can't talk tonight. The normal height that we keep deer out. And I did other research and found out that that's the general consensus of the professionals. That's fine. I understand that. But the 10-foot,
And also I should mention that the 10 foot is not the interlocking tension wire fence. It's black tension wire. It's just two
I saw that. Thank you. Yep.
single wires.
So ultimately, can you help me to determine how far back we should go with the actual harm because of the slope of the property?
In terms of footage or a demarcation mark,
What's the easiest way for you to present it? I'd prefer a distance, but obviously you can't.
I would think that south border, if you come up from the development, that corner, if you come up about, it steepens right to the east of our existing barn. I don't know if that's shown on that, anything you have there or not, but that's probably 125 feet up from the southeast corner.
Right here. That's the existing barn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steepens there,
that's a typographical. That's the existing barn.
and then it goes due south for, is it 50 feet, Claire? It's probably 75 or 50 feet. Let me see. I'll get my dimensions here.
On this one right here,
Yes.
I find it easier to read. So,
Yeah.
can you just show me where the slope part is, if you don't mind?
The steepest slope goes from about here down, and then it's there,
So what I'm looking for
changing direction.
to suggest distance that we can approve.
And then this is,
This building's there.
So what about back here?
that's
And this building.
That's level?
contoured. It's not level, but it's not
And
steep
this
like
here?
this.
What the total is.
That's
Same
going
as
up,
this?
that's going
Yeah.
uphill,
Okay.
but not
So-
significantly. I mean, this is.
This
really
is your
steep.
problem area.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. Thank you.
Mr. Clark, yeah, if you'll step back to the podium. All right, what's the total depth of your property?
Total depth.
The total depth from Old
I-
Main Street going back? Do you have that?
Oh, yes, I think I do. On the 22 feet, and then there's a dog leg, and then it's another 209. So
431.
431?
431 feet.
Okay. My other question is, in the plan, right here, there's a small structure. What is that, or can you tell me?
It doesn't exist. It was a shed, I guess, from
Okay.
the previous owner. There is a structure near there now. It's a barn.
I see, that would be this.
This is the topographic mapping by the MDC from the mid-60s, so.
I got it, but that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Well, I'm looking at the,
I'm not faulting him or anybody
yeah,
on
no,
that. Yeah.
There's the shed from Evans.
yeah, because,
The
yeah,
chicken
we're looking,
coops.
yeah, we're looking at the picture too, and it shows one pit, is this from the same time period too? The picture, the aerial?
this here? No,
Yeah.
I don't know when this,
Okay,
I think that's a Google map.
but they didn't have the
That's more
infrared
current.
back then, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotta be more current.
okay. Yeah, because we're looking at this little structure that's showing on the aerial.
Yeah, but they might have taken it
Right.
from something else, maps compiled together.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is your barn, your existing barn right there? Okay. Okay.
I'm thinking, I'm sorry, man.
Do you have any other questions? Go ahead.
What's your feeling if, on this map, approximately across from your barn, I'm tilting this way so the guys
Want him
can
to
see.
come up and see you, so you can, show, you want him to?
No, that's all
Oh,
right.
okay.
Approximately across, that's about halfway? Is that true? Do you think if we took a halfway point, do you think that would be a reasonable thing to do? Not fair, but reasonable,
10-foot available on that.
so that it would cover the greatest part of your slope,
And 8-foot the rest.
and 8 foot for the rest of it.
But if we were able to get the Rose's fence, we would have to just cut off
Right.
the,
You're going to restring the top wire anyway, I imagine. And that would solve the problem for you.
it would, I think.
You don't have actual pictures of your property, like where the slope is or anything?
In the package, there's actual pictures of the property
Ones with
where
the deer.
deer are shown.
The pictures of the fence are of the fence from Glastonbury, but
But the one on top has the deer and the white birch. That's our meadow. And also,
And that way, Tom, if in the future they need to add the extra 2 feet, they can do that. I mean, they would have.
So basically, this picture with, what I'm gathering is your garden right here. That would be close to the highest point
yes, that
on the
is-
property
that's
with the 2
essentially
deer.
the highest point right there.
Perfect. Okay.
I have no more questions.
Okay,
Does Mrs. Clark want to talk?
I don't have any questions either. Mrs. Clark, do you have anything to add, that you would like to add? Okay, so hearing no further questions, there's nobody against.
Well, I have
You have another question?
I have a question for us.
Okay, well then, let's go ahead, close the public hearing, and then we'll discuss amongst ourselves, okay? Okay, can I get a, motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, now we can go ahead and, speak on the, under new business.
My suggestion to all of us would be, what if you do 10 feet to the back corner here, and then the rest of it, you can do the 8 feet or 6 feet or whatever, since this is the most since this seems to be the area that is where the deer are accessing the property, because this is the slope.
The reason I would, I don't think that's a bad suggestion, but the reason I would not be in favor of it is because the grade of the property from about halfway going back isn't severe enough to cause us to go 10 feet.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, well, each band is like 2 feet apart. You can see how wide they are, and that's why I'm gauging that. I think it would be reasonable to go a long distance back, and that's why I was suggesting go halfway, which is about 216 feet. That's substantial, and that'll resolve the slope problem.
May I ask them a question?
They can't offer any more.
Yeah, they can, because we closed the public hearing already. Sorry.
Then I'll ask,
Yeah.
around the perimeter of the property, is there a path or a walkway or?
We actually did ask, and they said anything that looks like it was on the map doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
What they're
But,
proposing.
yeah, 3 feet.
Well, yeah,
3
they're
feet
coming
from the
3
property
feet onto
line.
their property.
Correct.
so-
Like a maintenance perimeter around the fence.
Right, and they will maintain it.
You know, Tom,
Yes.
this is a very untraditional fence, and you almost can't even see the top of it. And it's like,
Right.
so we're sort of discussing about something you can't really even see. And I guess where I'm going is, I'm going, does it matter if there's that extra 2 feet around the whole thing? I know where you're
I
going.
think it's a fair question.
And-
The reason it matters to me is because the variance that they're asking for is in height, not in type of
Right.
fence.
Right.
And if we grant 10 foot all the way around, we're setting a precedence.
Right,
And most of the property doesn't need 10 feet.
right,
So I don't want to set a precedence if it's not necessary.
right.
So our colleague brings up a point that I've been thinking about, is I'm thinking future. So let's say we do somewhere in between, like halfway point, so to speak, right? Like both you and Tom were suggesting essentially the same idea. My thought is, so first of all, if our folks here are obtaining the material from another property, right? So they might have to incur additional expenses, probably not, but additional expense to modify the fence to suit their property. That's one. Two, future-proofing it. What if in the future we find out that, the deer are very clever and, they're more robust than we anticipated, and they go to a different portion of the property and they're able to get over the 8 foot. So then they have to come back and they have to ask if they can get a variance to do it again in the future and thus incur an additional expense, or if they sell the property and new owners realize that, then they have to go through the same process again. If we decide to approve it for the 10 foot around the entire perimeter, then that's a reasonable accommodation that future-proofs it, and if, God willing, if the deer can get over 10 feet, in
Well,
my
then-
opinion, let them get over at that point.
Well, because the economics doesn't qualify as a hardship, then they would have to come back, because we can't base it, we can't approve on that basis.
Understood. I'm just thinking of, again, maybe I'm phrasing it the wrong way, but, who's to say that in 6 months they don't have to come back and do it again? That's a hardship to
Have
me.
to
If
cut
they have
their
to keep
fence.
coming back,
Yeah.
or if they have to modify the fence continuously, then that is a hardship, and that's something we would be imposing on them if we decide not to do it that way. I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm not disagreeing
No,
in
that's-
principle.
That's fine.
I'm just thinking, if it were my property, if I were managing a project, if I were making recommendations to a customer, that's where I would go. Future-proof it so you don't have to come back and do it again, is all I'm saying.
We're talking about scenarios that haven't really happened.
Agreed.
And if something like that were to happen, where they had to keep absolutely every deer animal out of there, they'd have to fence off Old Main Street too, the front of the property, because that's wide open. So, we can come up with situations.
Agreed.
Right now, all I can deal with is what they're asking for in height and the position, the slope of the property. I can see the hardship there. And by the documents, the research that they kindly provided,
Yeah, it's
I
very good
can,
research.
I can go 8 feet all the rest of the property, but, and not go down to 6.
Which is still giving a variance of the regs.
Sure.
Because the regs is 6,
Right.
so.
Right.
Would they have to, the poles are going to be an extra 2 feet high. Would they have to cut the poles off or just not put the barbed wire on the top or the wire on top?
That would be their choice.
Yeah, it would be their choice as long
Okay.
as that portion doesn't go above the 8 feet.
Okay.
Because we'd be approving height, not structure.
Right, right,
Mm-hmm.
right. Okay. So sort of what you're saying is find a reasonable point to slope it down to the 8 feet.
Right.
Right.
So what do we want to do then? Do we want to propose only going to that approximate halfway point or down to the corner like our colleague suggested?
Well, I think since Mr. Clark agreed that going to that halfway
Right.
point is reasonable,
Right.
then I think that's what we should do.
Now, I know it's only an open field, but is there some aesthetics where, someone in the future is going to look, why is that fence only halfway? Like, would it make sense to?
You're not even going to notice?
I
Yeah.
guarantee somebody down the road, years from now, is going to
I'm
complain.
I'm thinking from aesthetics.
And they're going to call David.
Yeah.
I doubt from the road you even be able to see.
Yeah, yeah, from Old Main Street, you're not gonna, you're not gonna be able to see it,
Right.
except for those portions, and it looks like there's a big
And-
bush there
well,
anyways
actually,
that will
and
hide
To be
it.
honest, you really can't even see the top two
Right.
wires.
You're right,
and-
you really can't
Yeah.
see the fence itself either.
And that's why you go with the black enamel coated wire.
Right,
It's
right.
more difficult to see.
Sure.
Yeah, if anybody's gonna see it, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not really sure where the road is gonna be for the new development. It's far enough away. There won't be any, visibility from the new,
Well, depending what the future homeowners clear for a backyard, there could be a backyard up near it.
okay, so the land does abut the new development, definitely,
Sure.
yeah.
On the side or all around?
The back and the side,
Yeah.
correct?
That'd be in
The,
this,
the
Yep.
back and the east side, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the cul-de-sac ends up about in this area.
Got it.
I'm not, or it might be farther. Further north, it's okay. So these would be, backyards. But, it's, you also have properties in town that abut state highway that has a
Right.
fence,
Sure.
Yeah, well, the state doesn't have to follow our regs.
But if it's developments going in, if they have an issue, they can always build a privacy fence too.
Right.
That's true, too.
Yes, if it's, right, the new people can,
And the 3-foot space
Yeah,
around the perimeter
which is
would
their-
be more
which
than-
would be their
which is-
property
ex-
to
exactly,
maintain
that'd be
their-
more than sufficient to
Yeah.
accommodate.
right. So if they needed to, clear vegetation or apply something
They've got
to-
the,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
okay.
I have no more questions.
Okay, any other further discussion? Nope. Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'm gonna make my first motion, ever. I say 10 feet down to the corner. Give them the whole, east side of 10 feet, and then you can do the rest whatever height. I don't care about, but I'm just trying to give them, in my world, if something could happen, it's gonna happen. So like, if we just have them put it up halfway down, like my colleague was saying here, more than likely, they're gonna end up back here, or their kids will end up back here asking for another accommodation, another variance. So if we just take it 10 feet straight back to the corner, and then however,
And then 8 feet for the rest of it?
Right.
sure, yeah. I'm just saying 10 feet. My motion is for 10 feet on the east side.
Madam Chair, may I second?
Go ahead, second.
I second that emotion.
Oh,
Okay, discussion. Do you want to put it on the record that Commissioner John Beatty will be voting in place of Vice Chair Coolio, who could not make it tonight. Okay, no discussion? Yeah, it's the south, yes. Yeah, please note that, yeah, the south, the south end. Okay. Can I have a vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Don't hear it. Okay, that's for variance number 1. Second variance, could I have a motion? That's for the waivering of the A2.
I make a motion that we'll waiver the A2 survey for this.
Seconded.
Okay, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposed, granted. Both variances pass. Congratulations.
You're all set.
Unless you want to buy us dinner, that's,
I actually have one question. This has nothing to do with
that was
this.
a joke, by the way, about dinner.
Yeah.
If I wanted to come to your house and just see the field, you know, and appreciate the beauty, would that be okay with you? Yeah, I can
Yeah.
tell.
And we're trying to preserve, one of the, now that, can I talk now?
You could have spoken earlier, too.
The reasons is that the farmer, who, he's not a farmer, but the fellow who pays our field, he's been doing it for around 15 years. And
Wow.
the field is declining in quality because of deer lay in certain
Right.
areas. And then he doesn't, when he mows, it doesn't spring up, so he can mow it. So he just mows over it, and then the weeds get into
Right.
those areas. And so the declining in that southeast
Right.
corner where they go, and they lie there in roots. So we were hoping to keep it open. We're hoping to keep the field open, but we're hoping to keep the deer out.
Can you replant?
Well, we could, but there's cost and
Right.
effort, and if we don't, the deer are gonna be there anyway.
Right,
We're
right.
gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
I have one other question.
Okay, we got to move on so we can get our meeting.
Are you gonna put, so like on the top wire of this 10-foot fence, are you gonna put like a piece of pink string or something so that, you know, people can, because with it being black, it's kind of gonna blend in, right?
His parents have this around some acreage in Milford, so we know what it looks like, and we chose it. It's more expensive to go this route. We chose it because we
We have to approve.
aesthetics,
Well,
and so not all our neighbors.
yeah, we have to put 2 months.
And all our neighbors think they won't see it. You don't want to see it either.
Yeah.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, that'd be even better.
Actually, it's right on your application, isn't it?
All right, what do we got? We have to approve minutes from last. Last two.
559.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I missed the last meeting.
We're going to hold it against you.
I know.
I will definitely be calling. I've seen you around town.
These can be fun meetings.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
You're
Have a good
welcome.
night.
Good night. Okay, do we have any old business?
I do not.
Nope. Any other business? Nothing? Okay, approval of the actions taken and the minutes for, let's start off with April 19th, 2022.
Make a motion, we approve the action taken in the minutes for April 19, 2022.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, discussion.
The only thing, just, it doesn't matter, but just my name's no H. Just, no big deal. Just for future.
Repeat that?
My first name has no H.
J-O-N.
Yeah.
And can we please change the first line from Chairman Puglisi, call the Tuesday meeting to order, to Chairperson's Act, please? Thank you.
And that's right in the middle of voting.
All right, can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, pass. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes and actions taken for May 17th?
Make a motion to approve May 17, 2022 actions and minutes.
Second,
Seconded.
Discussion.
discussion.
It looks like we had a template, because it shows myself and Commissioner Miano voting, but I was absent that day, because we were downstairs. So, where it says
Yeah.
Commissioners Beatty and Miano were voting, I know I wasn't there. I don't know who was here, because I wasn't here. So, I almost think that just got carried over on
Where
the
is-
template. You see,
Okay, that's on the,
it's on the May 17th one.
oh, yeah, looks like that one line underneath there.
Yeah.
The asterisk.
Like, was Commissioner Miano present?
No, Andrew was not present. Oh, wait, yes, he was. I take that back.
Yeah, there are 4.
He was present. Commissioner Miano was present.
This is May.
Yes, May 17th.
And I
Was it-
was not here.
Yeah, that's the firematic.
But then it shows him as absent,
Right.
so maybe his name has to go up to present.
No, he wasn't here.
Okay.
No, he wasn't.
Here.
No, it wasn't. Myself, Joe, and Franny was here. No, I take that back. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Andrew Miano was not here. I was thinking of the one before.
So then just that line comes out. Okay.
Yes.
That makes
I
sense.
apologize for that.
It was a month ago.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it on these?
So,
All right. Can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, both pass. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? None?
Let's hear that gavel.
We are adjourned.